Zambia Blog Talk Radio.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Broad Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Hi, Zambia Blog Talk Radio family. It's us again, or rather it's me again. Today, the 26th of November, 2022. Today, we have a very interesting segment as we are going to be looking at the first round of the FIFA 2022 World Cup, which was played over the past week. But before we delve into that, we're just going to be looking at some current affairs that have been affecting Zambia. On the show this morning, this afternoon, this evening, depending upon which part of the world you're joining us, is first of all a familiar face, none other than Chomba Mwansa. Hi Chomba, welcome.
Thank you, Mashonga. Hi, everyone. It's good to be back engaging with you, and I look forward to today's discussion.
Are you excited about what we'll be discussing?
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at, we've had a number of events in our country as well as the FIFA World Cup that's going on. So there's plenty to talk about, and looking forward to hearing from the viewers.
Awesome. Another interesting individual is none other than Chaman Sanjay, also known as Dito. He's very passionate about soccer as well as current affairs. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashonga. Mr. Chomba. Also, it's good to partner with you guys. Good afternoon to you viewers. Good evening. As alluded to earlier by Mr. Mashonga, which part of the world? I'm glad to participate and to actually enjoy and openly talk about bit football, current affairs, and all these other interesting issues as we walk the talk and be part of this great nation and the world at large.
Wonderful. So I guess without further ado, we'll just get straight into it. We'll start with you, Dito. What are some of the trending issues affecting Zambia that you have picked?
First and foremost, one of the biggest issues I will talk of is, as you know, one of the most trending is the economic factor, macroeconomic factor with regard to exchange rates. As you can see, our kwacha slightly has been losing value. This is because of there's no production much going on. And then we've been affected because of the trickle effect of the reduction in copper prices as earlier projected. But all I can simply say is the best way to actually tackle that is actually to make the economy be self-reliant, to be able to produce on its own. And I would say one of the other factors you might look into is to ensure that financial inclusion can be extended fully, especially the informal sector, because these are the biggest contributors to gross domestic product. And by so doing, this indeed will translate in ensuring that we can actually produce more, that we can export to have more forex. Because the thing about our kwacha has been backed by international sentiments, but this is pretty much temporal, you would argue. But all the same, I can say we're moving in the right direction. But all the same, we need just all of us to start to do something that will add value addition. So there is where actually it encompasses, and that's our pivot role we need to focus on. And it's the one that we'll actually be able to balance it up as we progress in ensuring that with all the policies aligned, be it the MDGs or whatever G7 has proposed, and the UNICEF, even in our own markets, like be it SADC or COMESA, I guess that is all that we're looking at, so that we can foster together to ensure we fight as a whole and that we can actually produce more to give value to our goods and services.
Well said. Awesome. I like the points that you have brought about which have an impact on our exchange rate. You made mention the copper prices going down and also maybe the lack of production uh, that Zambia is under at the moment. Hopefully, we can start producing soon. Chomba, trending issues for you?
Yeah, I would like to pick up from where Dito has left from. When you look at the economic factors, you see just this very week in the, I think that was it on Monday or Tuesday? The Bank of Zambia announced that it had maintained its MPR at 9%, and they had
Yeah,
also announced. Sorry.
yeah, no, yeah, pretty much around that figure, 9.29%. Yeah.
Yeah. So they are maintaining the MPR to be at 9%. Then they had mentioned that
Sorry,
currently.
what's MPR for laymen like myself and other viewers?
So basically,
And
my apologies. So basically, the MPR stands for monetary policy rate. So basically, this is the measure that the central bank uses to influence the interest rates that are going on in the economy. So basically, the central bank is going to put more like a benchmark of which the other players of the economy can try to follow through. An example we can give is commercial banks. So when the Bank of Zambia increases the MPR, it means that the Bank of Zambia is saying, hey, looking at the current economic factors, we're increasing the interest rate, meaning for a business that is intending to get its capital from borrowing, they are
Mhm.
going to pay more in servicing for that loan as opposed to when the MPR is low. Yeah, so basically that is what's going on. So looking at the fact that the MPR has been maintained, it is an indication that in as much as our kwacha seems to be depreciating against the major currencies, we are hopeful that the central bank and other major players of the economy are hopeful that soon enough we are going to have other factors of the economy come together and not have an effect on having these interest rates to go up, which is going to affect businesses at different levels, especially if you look at the SMEs. These are the ones that are adversely affected by high costs of borrowing. When you look at the big multinationals, those guys have got money, but for somebody like me who's trying to start up a business, I need a capital from the commercial bank. The MPR is definitely going to affect me. So for me, the highlight is that the MPR has been mentioned, which I think is on the positive side.
Okay, awesome. Well said. A bit technical, but I think you did simplify it for a number of viewers to actually be able to understand. There's another issue that I would like to bring. I don't know if you guys to bring onto the table. I don't know if both Chomba and Chama you're privy to this, but there was a saga. Is it in Katete? That's like in the eastern part of Zambia, where the police were brutalized by residents for whatever reason. Are you aware of that?
yeah, I did hear about it pretty much, but then I think there's more detail. You know, when it literally involves the police, sometimes they like to do their own investigations before they can give information. Because pretty much when an idea or such an event goes out the public, it's so many ideas, and literally you don't seem to get the right information unless they give the report themselves. Then openly you now okay give a view or an opinion about it. Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why I brought this up is that in the previous regime, the PF, they were criticized of giving, let's say, cadres to powers to cadres, such that the cadres could even just abuse the police, beat them, and even kill in that regard. But then this issue, I hear it has to do with a certain criminal that was suspected to have committed an offense. I'm not sure if it was murder or it was just theft. But then this individual was now let off, so he was acquitted. And then now the residents were very upset to say, no, this person has a big case to answer. You cannot remove them or take them out of prison. That's what angered the residents. They pounced on the police, a good number of them, and they were really beaten up and injured. But then my question isn't this the same act? I would use the word barbaric, and this is the same barbaric act that led the PF to be booted out of office? What do you think?
Um,
So if I can come in first. So basically, when you look at the two issues, they are quite similar because you are looking at members of the public, regardless of what tag we are going to give them, whether they are cadres or not. These are members of the public that are going to touch a uniformed officer, which is prohibited by the law. Yeah.
yes,
Now, when we go now into the details, looking at the previous regime, it became a very common thing to the point that as a law-abiding citizen, I needed to fear a cadre more than the police officer. That's the
yeah,
extent we had reached, and it became very unsafe. When we
yes,
look at the issue that we just saw in Katete, I think it's a bit different because this is where the community is saying, hey, this is the guy that we think committed the offense. I think if I recall right, I think the concerned individual was a murder suspect. Yeah. So the community is convinced this is the guy, and we've brought this guy to you, the police, to take your action. Then the police, a few days later, comes out and says, we've done our investigation, and we don't think we have enough evidence to continue detaining this guy on the grounds that he killed the person that you are alleging that he killed. So what we are saying between the two is that with the current regime, the current government, the president himself did say there is no single person that is supposed to be detained in the police for over 48 hours. Charge that person and let that person go. Then the police should remain to investigate, then the police will keep in touch with that person. When the police are having enough evidence against that suspect, the police is supposed to charge that person and take that person to the courts of law. That is the directive of the president. So with me, I feel we I feel it was not so bad of the police to let that person go if the police let that person go on the grounds that that person will still remain as a suspect, but the police will need time to do their investigations, which would be different if the police let that person go saying the person will not be answerable to anything. That becomes a different case altogether. But again, we need to look at the other side, which is the community. The community may not be previewed to the steps of how the courts of law works and everything. They want to say instant justice, which is not the way the courts of law works. So for me, I feel it is a knowledge gap between the community and And the police, I feel the police needed to clearly communicate to say, listen, a suspect has got a right not to remain in police custody for more than 48 hours. I feel maybe the police just didn't do that communication properly. So, to answer your question, I feel this is different from what we saw in the previous regime.
Just to add on what Mr. Chombaman Sazat mentioned, I know there was so much of abuse of people taking the law into their hands as of past regime, the previous one. But as of this one, like I would say, I think it's a matter of people being well informed. And like he's pointed out, between the gap between what the constitution stipulates and how the courts of law, because we should understand the police have been governed by the penal code. And then no one is above the law according to the land. The constitution guides all that. So if you're found wanting, you are given an opportunity also to be heard. So prior to being charged and apprehended and put behind bars, you can actually apply for a police bond, which will be granted, and then await investigations by the police, another investigative wing, and then that now preview will lead to now going before the courts of law. And then it's from there now with all the arguments brought up, whether it will be the people against the individual or the police against the individual himself. And then from what the judge will rule in the courts of law is what Richard will prevail. So there's just need to respect the law and to understand how these things go. Is it under the Public Act, or is it the so-called the Freedom Bill that we want to move in, so that people should also be regulated? And we should also understand from a point of view that we're in a country that is a more conservative or a very traditional country. So we cannot, it's not so much of like an open where you have so much absolute. We've been sort of governed a certain way by this customary law, and then we have also common law, which was adopted from a British colony, and judges are able to rule and make decisions based on what had happened, precedents. So in this case, sometimes it's always better that even when the matter arises, as people would argue like what happened in Katete, it's important that we present it before to the police. Then the police and other investigative wings, upon which people have raised their complaints before them, then they'll take it up from there, and they should give feedback to the people to say this is what has happened and it's from this nature, and then this was actually taken from such an article, this and such section and all that, and then guidance will be. But there's just need for more to inform more people, to actually teach them so they may become up to date with what really happens and what goes on. And moving forward will be people of law-abiding citizens, people that understand, and we will know even what doors we've broken and what we've not, and how to go about this issue. And more especially, I would encourage, maybe going further, the police, as much as they know the penal code, if they can also maybe know part of the law, like maybe just partially, not them becoming lawyers, so they can able to connect, because these two things, they marry in one or the other. And we want to avoid such instances where, law comes with exceptions. So sometimes of what you may think as though it is an offense, it might have an exception and end up losing out. And that's something that the public will miss out. So there's need to raise awareness so that people can get par with the way things are.
Okay. To the viewers that might be wondering, or that might have just joined in and are wondering what we're discussing. So before we delve into the first round of the FIFA World Cup, we are looking at the trending current affairs, and we were looking at the issue that happened in Katete, where the police were brutalized after being accused of letting a murder suspect go. Yeah, and that's what Chomba as well as Chama were just breaking down. Okay, I think it's about time now we delve into the issue the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. We begin with the opening ceremony. Chomba, what struck you about the opening ceremony?
It was beautiful. I think that opening ceremony is one of the most beautiful opening ceremonies that we've ever seen to this tournament, all hands down to Qatar. I think when you look at those big figures, where I think if you've come across those statistics where statisticians are trying to compare the cost spent in organizing the World Cup, you see that Qatar is way up there around $200 billion and then when you look at the other hosts that spent a lot of money, they are nowhere close to that number. It
Okay.
it is justifiable with what we are seeing. When you look at the opening ceremony itself, the stadiums that these guys are playing in, everything just seems to be top notch, 5 star, and everything. It was, I think for me, the highlight was how they combined the current FIFA World Cup song, and then they did a bit of those 2010 World Cup songs and the 2014 song. I think it had just brought everything together so beautifully.
Okay. Awesome. Chamo?
Um, I think the one thing is, football in its sense brings about the togetherness. And just like even the word is, I think it was the core and the advocate more is about the uniformity and the inclusion of the whatever race, color, beat, nation, and whatnot. I think that's the cultural dimension, diversity, tourism. So that in itself is actually what beautifies everything. And at the end of the day, it shows to say we're one people that work together and relies on each other. And like the saying goes, no man is an island, and that is what we could actually see. And with all that, it's brought so much advice, so much to learn, and so much to grow. And this is one of the most important things. And it was miraculous, great, free, Morgan, and the funny talk, the conversations, and that's pretty much beautiful. And that's exactly what literally shows within ourselves that actually one who's inside is bigger than even what exactly is outside, and there's more that we can bring out. When we work together, united we stand divided before, and the unity exemplary is proving itself as we've watched even until today.
Amazing. Like you have made mention, a number of people after seeing the opening ceremony stated to say, "Hey, it's like some powers just wanted to paint this nation black. Otherwise, it's going to be amazing, and it might just stand out to be one of the best World Cups we have ever seen." So yeah, coming
Yeah.
to the
And
yeah, Choma,
yeah, sorry. My apologies
no
for
problem,
coming in, Chonga.
no problem.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
you've mentioned something very important. When you
Uh-huh.
look at when you go on social media, move away from the mainstream media, move away from BBC, move away from CNN, just go to these smaller independent media or just people that are posting. You are going to see that in the streets of Qatar, you see all these Brazilians, all these people from Southern America, Africans, they are having fun with the Qataris. Like they're having fun, they are singing, they are celebrating, they're doing everything together. When you go on the mainstream media, all you are finding is no, these guys did not allow. There's this fan who wanted to enter the stadium with an LGBT shirt, and
Yes,
the security did not allow that fan.
Okay.
And that is what you are going to see on the mainstream media. So I feel it is really unfortunate that we can have in this present day and age, you'd want to enforce a particular culture on someone else, and yet you are in their house. I feel it's pretty unreasonable for me, in my opinion. Sorry not to
I'd like
sound too strong on that.
I like your point. Someone coming to control in your own home, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, controversial. It's like when you go to Rome, do what Romans do. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's a matter, like when I mentioned about culture, traditions are different. Those are people that are conservative. The religion is the tradition. So sometimes you want just to respect. Sometimes you can't infringe because they're scared that maybe their people might be influenced. And maybe
Okay.
that's how they safeguard and maybe pray or rather worship to their God. So I think that a few things might not literally applied everywhere, and that's just how literally a home is, and that's how everybody is. Yeah, absolute freedom, we can't all have it. We should just understand. Even nature itself or physics, actually, it speaks for itself. It speaks volumes to say this is how actually you work around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. We move straight to the opening game, Qatar versus Ecuador. Prior to the tournament, there were allegations to say eight Ecuadorians had been bribed huge sums of money in order that Ecuador could lose, or rather must lose, the opening game. Well, the game started. Tumba, what was your take? Ecuador took the game.
Yeah. When you look at the opening game, it there was this very strong rumor that you just mentioned, and for me, I felt bad because I thought if Qatar genuinely wins this game,
Yeah.
the victory is going to be overshadowed by the rumor to say no, there is match fixing in this game. But I don't know if I should say luckily, Qatar lost to prove all those allegations that we were seeing on social media platforms to be false. It just goes back to what we are saying to say, look, it is pretty unfortunate that there will just be this section of the world that will just try to put down the hard work that Qatar has been trying to put in organizing this event. Yes, there has been highs and lows in the preparations that we are not going to deny. Yes, there's been all these human rights allegations. Of course, we are not going to deny everything, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to look at what we are there for. It is for the World Cup. It is the tournament. Can we focus on the game? So it's unfortunate they lost, and they lost the second game, and now they've been confirmed to have been booted out of the tournament, which is pretty unfortunate for the host nation.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, quickly, anything from my side on the opening game, Qatar Ecuador.
Qatar Ecuador. Okay, the World Cup is full of upsets. It's fun because people tend to play for their pride, their national team. So that patriotism sometimes, and as united as you work, sometimes tends to prove otherwise, and by winning or rather giving a win or even a lose. But then you should also understand that in football. So the other factors we're talking of investment, trainings, how exposed your players are, who their coach, who they play to, even your international friendlies. So there's all that in the background which sometimes we don't see, and maybe we'll just focus on the result. So it's a good experience for them as a host, and I guess it's a good interaction because they've played even different teams with different exposure, like their players and whatnot. And Ecuador coming from South America and being a team that's faced those top giants, Brazil, Argentina, and whatnot. So I think they gave it a shot, but at the same time, maybe there was just a little time, especially that Warrior just coming from COVID and whatnot, those disruptions, preparations. At some point, we were a bit skeptical, but we thank God that all is possible now, and here we are. But all the same, hard luck for them. I guess football, it is what it is, but they gave it a shot, yeah. And whoever takes his chances and converts, then they're gonna win it. They'll clinch it like that, yeah. I should go on.
No, I think Mashonga should be experiencing some network challenges. So I think we can move on. So what Chama, what is
Yes.
your view? What is your view on the performance of the teams that are representing us, Africa?
Hello? Yes, yes. I guess network issues there. Can you get me?
Yes, I can get you. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was asking to say, what is your opinion over the African teams so far when you look at the opening matches?
Now, uh, maybe I don't know if I bit. Uh, just do this. Okay. Can you just repeat the question once more?
Yeah, I was asking about the performance of African teams in the first round. What is your opinion?
I know we can do more. We can do better with exactly what we've shown.
Yeah.
The one thing that I can just say is that sometimes when we become a bit reluctant, like as African teams, they've been a bit reluctant when maybe they need to convert and utilize their chances. I think they haven't shown so much of character. For instance, Senegal against Netherlands, I felt they should have
Yeah.
done so much. Especially
Yeah.
seeing that at some point, like in the 75th, we'll be like on
Yeah.
a 0-0 situation. We should have just held the
Yeah.
lead and go for a draw because with yes, we
Yeah.
could not
Yeah.
actually score them. But I like their
Hmm.
response in their second match after
Yeah.
that experience they got with Netherlands. Then for
Yeah.
Ghana and Portugal, wow, it was an interesting game. I think they gave it the best, they
Yeah.
gave it all. I like their character, they were composed, but
Yeah.
maybe to some point they got a bit overwhelmed, like maybe trying to
Yeah.
under the pressure, mental, because of the drama, the controversy, Ronaldo's penalty, and all that. But I like their response. I felt the moment they equalized and made the 1-1, I think they should have held the lead, hold on to the lead, and then look for maybe we kind of play a bit reserved to look for a chance we can capitalize by hitting them on the counter. But at some point, I don't know their strategy. Maybe they might have missed it and then both go found two goals at the back of the net, like in a space of maybe less than 10 minutes, which should not have been the case. But if they go at that same momentum, I feel they'll do better in the next game and maybe in third. Maybe they might even find a spot for them in the round of 16. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Awesome. Mashonga, we are discussing the performance of the African teams in the first round of the games. What is
Yeah.
your
I
opinion?
think, yeah. So I think before we continue, we can just take a quick break. Then we pick it up on the flip side. Otherwise, great discussion and yeah.
Do you want to promote your business on Zander Broad Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zander Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zander Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Okay, welcome back to Zame Blog Talk Radio. We are just discussing the FIFA World Cup first round of matches. Yeah. Yeah. So there was a question to say my take, right, on the games.
Yes,
Yeah,
For the African teams.
for the African teams. First of all, I think it's good that Africa is represented for starters by the teams that we have, and then whoa, as regards performance, hasn't been that impressive, or the teams haven't been that impressive so far. Yeah, some Senegal was beaten in a game that they played. I feel they were the better side. I don't know what you
Yeah.
think, but I think Senegal was the better side, yet they lost. Cameroon Cameroon failed to win either. Their performance didn't really impress me. Senegal as well. But then if I look at Ghana, right, I feel they were hard done by. I feel they were. I feel VAR killed them. The officiating killed them. That's my opinion. But yeah, I the first, was it the first goal, the CR7
The
goal,
penalty.
the penalty. The penalty I feel shouldn't have stood because it was too soft. Um, okay, just having some technical glitches there. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Okay, sure.
we're talking about the first goal by Portugal, right? In my
Yes.
opinion, that was a bit too soft. The defender had the ball, and Cristiano Ronaldo just bumped himself into the defender. Really, that was the first goal. The third goal as well. So Ghana put the goal back. The third goal as well. For me, that was an offside. VAR, or if it wasn't an offside, at least VAR should have checked that goal. So my question is, why didn't VAR check the two goals like they do for every other teams? You get my
That's
point?
that's that, that's a very good question. I think even the time when the game was going on, just on the
Mhm.
first goal, when the referee blew the whistle to give that penalty decision,
Uh-huh.
my expectation was okay. Let's wait for VR to come in, and we
Mhm.
waited forever. VR never came in.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember a single moment of that
Mhm.
game where VAR came in and they checked a decision that the referee made. So the question is, where was VAR in that game?
Uh-huh.
The third goal, like you have put it, we all suspect it to be offside.
Yep.
We needed to see how the goal was cleared, not to be offside. The
Yep.
first goal, see CR7, as he continues to break his records.
Yep.
That was too soft. We needed VAR to validate that decision. So in
Mhm.
that whole game, where was VAR?
Yep. Exactly. So those are the questions that I personally feel needed some answers, and because every other team, no matter how big their opponents are, VR got to check the goals. Argentina had 3 goals that were disallowed to have been offside, right? When they
Yeah.
played against Serbia. But then for our own African team, VAR did not do anything. So for me, I feel Ghana was really unfairly treated as regards officiating is concerned. Um, just on the same African teams, African people, let's move to Gianni Sikazwe. Yeah, his officiating was it the Belgium Denmark game?
Yes.
So in the Belgium Denmark game, Gianni was it Denmark? Gianni had some controversy as well, right? So, like in the build up, we discussed to say he was coming from lots of issues, but then he was back on the big stage officiating a very big game. So he gave the first penalty against Belgium, which stood correctly. Then the second penalty, according to analysts and the people that are saying, they stated to say that was a back pass from a Belgian player. So there was no way that would have been ruled out as offside. And then afterwards, there was another incident where a penalty should have been given, um, which which was not given. I feel again they're just being too harsh on Africans. What do you think on the African players as well as the referee now, the Zambia Kuchale, the guy who's representing us, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with your opinion. I feel the media, especially mainstream media, is being too harsh on the African referee, in this case, Gianni Skazwe. I feel it was a very tricky circumstance for Gianni because he is coming from the AFCON, where he came out of that tournament with a lot of controversy over what
Mm-hmm.
happened, which we discussed well in our last meeting. So
Yeah,
all the spotlights were on him. This is the referee who blew the whistle in the 85th minute. And
yeah,
every single decision that he made was scrutinized because
yeah,
everybody was looking at him not to be a competent referee, which is very contrary to how we know our journey. He's a professional
yeah,
guy. He has officiated very, very high profile games and he is well competent. When you look at the decisions that he made in that game, see, that is the whole reason why VAR was introduced in the first place. Because
yep,
it is not everything that the referee is going to catch when the game is playing. Remember, some of these things happen so fast.
yep,
VR has to come in and say, yo, you missed this. Can you double check that? Can you check here and there? That's the use of VR to complement the referee who's running in the ground. So when the referee, in this case, Janice Kazwe, makes a call and VR intervenes and they agree with him, what else do you want to say about the referee? It means he's doing his work correctly. You see? And when you look at the officiating that we have seen, trust me, the performance that Janice Kazwe gave is not the worst. It's not even as bad as some of the decisions that we have seen. Just the game we are from talking about, Portugal against Ghana, nobody's talking about that referee. If it was
exactly.
Gianni, I'm sure by now I have no idea where I would have been. So to me, I feel the criticism that Johnny is getting is unfair because people are coming in with already that prejudice to say this is the guy who did that at AFCON. So no, no,
Uh-huh.
no. Johnny's performance so far, for me, it is not bad. Yes, he could have missed here and there, but you have VAR to correct him.
Yeah. I like your point. Yeah, 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 talking about because that's why they introduced VR in the first place in order to aid where the referee could have missed it, right? So if a referee is in an angle where they're obstructed or they can't see properly, then now VAR comes in. So Gianni was let down by VAR, one, in my opinion, like you're saying. Two, the Ghana Portugal game. If anything, Gianni's officiating was even okay, was fine. At the end of the day, Belgium did deserve to win. But then when we look at the Ghana Portugal game, no one is talking about that referee. When the first penalty was questionable, the third goal had the possibility of being ruled out for an offside. They did not check it. So why should it just be Gianni? Just because he's coming from AFCON, or what's a big deal there? Yeah. So I do agree with what you're saying. The next issue is our other Zambian representative, as Zambians are putting it, Haverena. Let's talk about Haverena.
Well, the Saudi Arabia's opening game was out of this world. I mean, prior to the game, who would have thought that Argentina, a very strong favorite to carry the cup, is going to lose to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? A team in which you can hardly mention 2 or 3 players. So Javier Renard's tactics in that game were spot on. How whatever he said to his players after the first half of the game, it really worked. Because when you look at the first half of the game, Argentina was over Saudi Arabia. They scored the first goal, I think, under 10 minutes. And then a few minutes after that, there were 3 goals that were disallowed. So in the first half, you could tell that this is an Argentina show. But right after the first half into the second half, Saudi Arabia grew into the game. They started pressing more. They became more aggressive. They started running more. They opened up in the spaces in the final third, and at the end of the day, they scored the 2 goals, stunning Argentina and Lionel Messi. So that was really a masterclass that we saw from Heverina.
Okay. Okay. Sama, Saudi Arabia.
Just to it was an interesting match. I feel Argentina sort of underestimated Saudi Arabia. And when they first had those 2 goals struck by Lautaro Martinez, when you feel you've won and then you're disallowed, and more always maybe that change the game plan, and then not seeing Saudi Arabia that they would step up and out of nowhere they literally came with such a force. It literally actually surprised them, especially when they equalized and put up the back of them, because they're very good defensively. We could see even from the times that every now, most of his teams, he shoots them very well tactically in a very defensive way that they'll hit or score goals on counter attack or set piece, then they hold up the play. And you could see it from Zambia when he coached us once in the 2012 AFCON. Even Ivory Coast, you could see they didn't really smartly play very well, but they have the capability to hold on to the lead. And that's how come most of the 2 finals that he had won with Ivory Coast and Zambia, you could see they even forced us to go to penalties because of how so much he's able to put up that block. And that's how brilliant even actually Saudi Arabia, it did with Saudi Arabia as well. And it's just also a wake up call maybe to these other big nations, beat Brazil and whatnot, because you could also see Serbia also played the same way, that they made it so difficult. On that Brazil, maybe because of so much potential, they still found the back of it. But then, just out of reference, I guess with Argentina and Saudi Arabia, it was just a masterclass by Evrena, and the team cohesively just worked together to find the 2 back of the nets. Yeah.
What is things apart?
And surprisingly, just now, Saudi Arabia is just from losing to Poland. I think after the first game when they had beaten Argentina, I thought they were going to put up another masterclass against Poland. I thought maybe it is either Saudi Arabia is going to win or they are going to draw, which would have put Argentina in a very, very tight spot to make it
Yes.
to the next round. And
Yeah.
because of this result, it makes that group to be very open, because now you're looking at Saudi Arabia, that is sitting at 3 points. Then you have Poland, that is sitting at 4 points. Then you have
Yes.
Mexico that is with 1 point. Then you have Argentina at the bottom with nothing. And Argentina is
Yes.
going to be facing Mexico. What do you think will be going in the heads of Lionel Messi and co as they face Mexico?
Obviously, one of the quotes that Lionel went out even on social media, and even one of when he was interviewed, he was literally asking his fans, Argentine fans, as well as fans around the world, to actually have faith and belief, especially that it is actually the first game. But then if you look at Mexico, it sort of becomes more or less like a South American derby kind of a match. They know each other, language and whatnot. But I don't think Mexico are this strong. But maybe because of that grounding, they might find difficulties a bit. But I guess this time around, he has no option but to step up with his team, not just himself. But I guess they should show the character that they want it, and it's the one time they'll get it, because they can't afford to draw on those. It's a must win for them today.
Yeah, but Chama, before you call Mexico weak or not to be as strong as Argentina, remember Mexico is having Ochoa. That man,
Yeah,
it's like Ochoa lives for the World Cup.
but I do know that, but then you should also understand that this Argentina is still a team that can make a difference. They have players
Yeah,
that can rise to the occasion.
yeah,
Di Maria can just be the player to step up today. It could be Lautaro Martinez again. Maybe this time around now just being on the score sheet. And I guess maybe defensive wise, I feel Martinez should start and not maybe Romero from Tottenham. I think on that
yeah.
one was also an experiment that the manager should not have done. If they're more solid and maybe they give more in attack, meaning they will not suppress the midfield, and then Messi and all the rest of the forwards will have more now freedom to press and actually maybe even find goals at the back of the net. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, especially on the Martinez point you've made. I feel Martinez is more aggressive and hungrier than Romero. So I hope to see Martinez starting. Yeah. So before Mashonga comes in, so to you, Chama, going back to the African teams for now, that is, I'm having a lot of
Yeah.
interest in the African teams. Which of the African teams do you think is likely to progress furthest? And mind you, before you give your answer, I think Tunisia is almost out because they've just lost their second game.
Am I clear?
Yeah,
Can you get me? Okay.
yeah, I can get you.
For I think Ghana has it. I think even Senegal can pull through. The character Ghana showed, if they can do the same for the second and the third game, I think they can still find points through, and maybe even not be the second and still make it to a round of 16. We've seen Ghana do it for the past most World Cups. I think it's been one of the team that actually, when they go there, they're just like, you know what, we're not treated underdogs. Let's just who wins it. We don't care if a big star, a big name. let it just be you and I, that kind of a thing. Senegal, they're okay, but the biggest issue, I think they don't have somebody to convert, like their chances. I know it's a big blow that Mane was out, is not with them, but I think if that Mane, I would have still fully be convinced and guaranteed to say they would go far. But looking at the Netherlands game, you could see that they were able to get there, but converting, they didn't have somebody who could take it upon and still just say strike the whole money we've seen him do at Liverpool and also at Bayern Munich. So I think maybe in that regard, that's maybe the piece that they seem to be lacking. Yeah, Cameroon, they have Brazil. Brazil, they're eager. They still want to prove and find the chance to get the slot and be there. So it's to be difficult for them to beat Brazil. So it's like they all just have one team to beat. I don't think they'll manage to beat Brazil. Yeah. So Ghana and Senegal, I think, can have a chance to actually getting it through there. But I think it's a very predictable World Cup because it's just about who converts and takes his chances. So generally, it might go either way. Yes.
Okay, good to hear that you are going for either. Well, you are going for both Senegal and
And
Ghana.
Ghana, yeah, they can find their chance. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Speaking of Cameroon, I was very surprised to see in the opening game that the manager opted to start Eric Choupo-Moting up front as opposed to Vincent Abubakar.
Yeah,
Yes,
Bubaka.
I do respect the fact that Choupo-Moting is in the form of his life with Bayern Munich. But
Yeah.
again, when you look at the performances that Vincent Abubakar had put at the previous AFCON, man was untouchable. So I felt that Vincent Abubakar was going to do more damage in that game than starting Moting. But anyway, it was the manager's call. Yeah.
Maybe before Mashola comes in, I feel when you're playing for a national team, it's different from club. When you're playing for national team, sometimes you just need a player with experience. They might not be the best, maybe to play the whole full 90, but you need him. Maybe even just the first half, or maybe 50 minutes and substitute, just for him to gel and sort of give them composure for them to step up and push regardless of the change. For instance, there's the reason why Dan Alves was brought in for Brazil. It's not necessarily maybe because he's an informed player and like he still has the energy to run and give the best as we've known him the past years, but it's for the experience, the calmness, the composure, the not to lose focus. You need people, you need leaders in short. Abubakar is a leader up front. They were lacking that as a Cameroonian team. And maybe that was an oversight by the coach. And hopefully maybe this second game against Brazil, if maybe he can start, or even maybe both of them, maybe Abubakar is shooting, maybe behind the main striker who the coach at that particular time decided to use.
Well, unfortunate for the glitches we've had with the internet. Otherwise, it's been a great discussion, and we will be coming to the end of our discussion very soon. But I hope that the African teams can up their game. Some teams like Tunisia have already played and they lost today. But hopefully, these other teams can really put in a good fight, make us proud, and yeah. But I still feel it's going to be a very interesting World Cup, and there's going to be huge upsets. Yeah. Any last words, gentlemen? Chama.
Um, it's it's been an honor to join you guys on this part and parcel of the ongoing Zambia blog and these interesting conversations. More to come, be it current affairs, be it football. The one thing that I can say to you, my viewers, that we need to be a people that are united, people that are innovative, people open to agree and to disagree. And more or less, it should be a way to uplift and encourage each other to become better. So, necessary constructive criticism, constructive competition to get the best of whatever that God has granted to this world and even to our country and the talents that are embedded within ourselves. So when we use them cohesively as a force, so much can come out of us. But otherwise, it's been an interesting, despite the network issue. We'll do better next time. But all the same, I hope you've enjoyed this constructive topic and discussions. We've had both the current affairs and the football post analysis of the first round FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar. Next time, as we come even for this time around, to actually give more, even especially what we'll see this week we're about to start and the games which have played and are played today. Yes. Thank you.
Chomba. Thanks, Chama.
Thank you, Mashonga. It's an honor once again to be here and to interact with you and also to our viewers. Thank you for the support and everything. For me, the only message I would like to end with, which for me is a lesson that I've picked up from the ongoing FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022, is it is okay to be different. It is okay to have differences of opinion. I feel that is what makes us unique. I feel the world would be a boring place if we are all saying yes to each and every idea, or if we are all having the same values in our homes. If I am a Zambian, allow me to have my Zambian values, allow me to express myself as a Zambian. If you are from the United States of America, I should allow you to express yourself with the values that you have, where you are. If I come to your house, I should respect your values because I am a visitor in your house. If you come to my house, you are going to find my values, my rules, my do's, and my don'ts. My expectation is you are supposed to respect the rules and the values that you are going to find in my house. I feel that is what makes us as a unique people and very beautiful people. So I feel like this is a very big lesson which all of us can learn from. There's no single race, there's no single culture, there's no single value that is more superior to the other. We opt to respect each other. Thank you.
Well said, gentlemen. Once again, it was a pleasure having you discussing current affairs as well as the first round of the FIFA 2022 Qatar World Cup. To our viewers, thanks for joining us as usual. We'll see you in 7 days on the 3rd of December for yet another interesting discussion. It's bye from us.
Bye.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.